Hi, I'm Alex McCord, and welcome to The Real Deal on thestir.com. Today we've got episode 4 of The Ladies of London, as well as season 9, episode 10 of The Real Housewives of Orange County. And here we have great examples in both shows of what happens when too many ladies get involved in each other's fights. Whew. First, let's talk about Orange County. It is all about Shannon Beador, Tamra Judge, Heather Dubrow, and an email. Let's kick it off with a viewer question. Nate Fame on Twitter asked me, Alex, is there ever an expectation of privacy when you tell another castmate a secret on camera? I don't get Shannon's outrage. Oh my goodness. Well, for background information, Shannon shared an email last week with Tamra from her husband David where he suggested that he move out for a while. And in a spectacular game of telephone, Tamra told Heather all about it, exaggerating that David wanted a divorce. Now we get to see what happens when housewives catch each other gossiping. First, in answer to Nate, a cast member would have to be the dumbest dummy on the planet to think that something she shares while cameras around would not be dissected, disseminated, used against her, and televised. The producers had to be rejoicing when these scenes were filmed. See, every time the cameras are up, there is a crew member hiding with headphones, transcribing every single thing that the ladies say onto a laptop. And those notes are highlighted and sent to the higher-ups immediately so that they can see what points came up that could further the storyline. This is where Shannon Beador is proving her worth as a first-season cast member. Sure, you want somebody who costs less money, is fresh blood, and brings the drama, but you also want someone who has no idea about the behind-the-scenes tricks being used against her. You can call them fresh meat. You can also call them a mark. Shannon Beador is being a good little mark. She is gullible with a capital G. She's completely clueless. She seems to have no idea that if production finds out about something, whether you speak it on camera or simply tell someone behind the scenes, that's like putting out a press release to the world. More fool her. There is no privacy in production. Ever. Which brings up my next viewer question. Danny Z asked me, Alex, do you ever feel like producers go too far when they intervene with storylines on Housewives? Orange County seems very staged tonight. Danny, I could not agree more. There is producer meddling all over Emailgate. Here's how I'll bet it went down. Shannon got the email. She told her producer, because if the producer has done his or her job correctly, Shannon thinks that they're her best friend. She would think that she's friends with this producer and they help her out. The producer would have held her hand and hugged her and soothed her and dried her tears and maybe poured her a vodka soda and then suggested that she confide in Tamra because Tamra's been through all this already. Well, then the producer would have done one of two things. Either suggest to Tamra that she should tell Heather to try and get Heather to back off, or simply say, hey, Tamra, take this, go stir the pot. However things led up, they ended with Tamra first lying to Shannon about discussing the email, then covering up her true intentions and still pointing the finger back at Heather. I think Tamra's intention was simply to stir up drama and gossip, not to compel Heather to be more compassionate. Tamra spun faster than a political campaign manager. She wanted to cover her tracks with Shannon. Oh, I was doing it for you. No, you weren't. You were doing it for drama. The showdown at Heather's house with Shannon was very silly to me. Now, is Heather touchy and abrasive? Yes, a little. But Shannon's a complete moron. She should be calling out Gossip Girl Tamra, not Heather. My favorite part of the Heather scene was Terry in the background with his head in his hands. Loved that. Nobody in Orange County wants to own their gossipy behavior. See, wouldn't it be refreshing if someone just said, oh, it was a really good story and I couldn't help myself. I had to spill the tea. Unfortunately, honesty amongst housewives is rare. Speaking of honesty, we have a problem with that across the whole network. Now, I rarely stick around for Watch What Happens Live because I prefer to make my own commentary, but I saw the first few minutes and I need to bring up two things. One, Andy Cohen delighted in replaying the Shannon-Heather showdown and said, this is what happens when housewives show up unannounced. Really? Second, when Ladies of London cast member Caprice was asked about their show, she complained about editing, and Andy turned purple. Here's the problem, folks. There is only one person sticking his head in the sand and refusing to believe that these shows are not 100% real and that things just magically happen. Who is it? It's Andy Cohen. He's not willing to understand or admit that editors skew things to make a story, and they don't show us everything. For example, someone had to make sure that Heather was home and get all the cameras set up and do a little pre-show of her having a drink with her husband before Shannon arrived. No wonder Andy was bounced from Bravo's corporate offices. He refuses to admit how things really work. It's disingenuous. It's smarmy. I firmly believe that the entire Housewives franchise would be better if everyone would take a page from the Atlanta Gals or perhaps from MTV. Give everyone a framework. Don't play gotcha with the cast members. Say, you're going to be the villain. You're going to be the hero. You're going to be the Greek chorus. Go. If people have at least a little idea of what to expect, they will play along. You don't need to give them a script. Just give them an understanding. But let me get off my soapbox and back to the ladies of London. Last week, the first blood was drawn, and Caprice cannot let it go, which is exactly what you were supposed to do as a cast member, and probably why she was rewarded with flights and a seat on Watch What Happens Live last night. See, in the real world, if your friends are fighting, you would normally stand back and let it all play out. On reality TV, however, you are encouraged to jump in and have your say about the whole thing and choose a side. If you don't, you're a non-entity and in danger of being fired. By becoming angry on Annabelle's behalf at both Juliet and Caroline, Caprice did the wrong thing for a real woman, but exactly the right thing for a reality show cast member. We also saw a little carrot and stick character redemption. While last week Juliet was screaming her lungs out, this week she's at home baking cookies with her adorable children. Meanwhile, Caprice uses her indignation over Annabelle's fight to start her own fight with Caroline by refusing to let her host a baby shower in her home that's miles and miles and miles away from London. Oh, haven't I heard that before with Brooklyn? Well, 1, unless you host your own shower, you are not allowed to micromanage the event and the hostess. Just be grateful. 2, Caprice once again delivers as a cast member by alienating Caroline and stirring up more trouble. Personally, my favorite part of the baby shower nonsense was that Caroline was wearing exactly the same style of denim Daisy Duke cutoff shorts that she mocked on Juliet at the 4th of July fight. Hypocrisy, thy name is housewife. Lady. Elsewhere in this episode, Noelle is getting a really nasty edit. She seems like the meanest girlfriend I've ever seen, and I wonder whether we will ever see her being nice to Scott. There was a tricky piece of editing here that I thought went too far. In the coming up next commercial teaser, it looked like Scott was breaking up with Noelle. But when we get to the real story point, he's simply assuring her that they will in fact move in together. I didn't like that. That's like reading a juicy headline online and clicking into the story to find nothing there. It's disappointing for the viewers, and it's also a desperate move on the part of the editors trying to make something out of nothing. I do have high hopes for the first ladies' trip, which is a jaunt to the estate of Sandwich to visit supporting cast member Viscountess Julie. Finally, we'll leave the ladies of London with an interesting viewer comment. Stephen Dew remarked, I hope the show numbers improve because I think in season 2 there can be some changes. Stephen, you're right to be worried about the numbers. So far, the London ladies have not broken the viewer threshold that would normally secure a second season. I love seeing Selfridges and fashion shows in tunnels. It reminds me of back when New York was really good. But if the numbers don't increase for London, they could be in trouble. Let me know what you thought in the comments. For now, I am Alex McCord. You are watching The Real Deal on thestir.com. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you tomorrow.